Guys, welcome back to the Independent Investor channel. Anytime I get a topic or an idea that I find that can be of significant value to my viewers, I hop right in here and go ahead and deliver that message for you guys. If this is your first time tuning into the Independent Investor channel, I highly encourage you to subscribe to the channel. This is probably the most user-friendly information that you could potentially deploy in your own lives to realize financial security. I know there's a lot of channels out there that talk about financial information, and every now and then I'll tune into them, but I honestly feel that I take the cake for delivering information that is deployable in anybody's lives. Furthermore, it does not require a whole lot of experience in the stock market, and it doesn't require you to be an analyst, okay? I provide real-world options for you guys to look into and deploy in your own lives. So for those of you guys who have been with me for quite some time, you guys can really vouch for my sincerity. I don't charge for the information. I've had a few guys beat me up about, my delivery and I talk blah, 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 and there's not a lot of content. I completely disagree with that. If you don't like the content, you can shut the channel off right now. So I'll go ahead and take a second and pause. So for you guys that are expecting me to dance around and entertain you, you guys can go ahead and switch to another YouTube video at this particular juncture. So for you guys that actually want to learn about investing, you guys know that I recommend the Vanguard funds really solely on this channel. There's no real reason to deviate from Vanguard, and if you get onto Vanguard's website and start to analyze their list of index funds, and most specifically their list of ETFs that they offer, you are going to find that they are the cheapest in the industry, okay? Jack Bogle, who is the owner of Vanguard, came out with this and delivers a product to individual investors that can provide products to everyday people, right? Hardworking people that don't have the time to sit there and study stock charts all day or learn about technical analysis or even fundamental analysis, which is what I do most of the time. They don't have time, right? We're all busy. We're all trying to provide for our families. We're all trying to work. We're all trying to run businesses out there. And wouldn't it be nice if we could identify assets out there or passive investment options for yourselves that you could put in motion, right, that can grow over time and pay you to be an investor? And Vanguard really hits home with this. They really achieve their goal for investors. And just here recently, I've been in kind of a back and forth dialogue with one of my really, really good subscribers, new subscriber at that, who's enjoying the content of the YouTube channel, Independent Investor, has went back, watched some of my catalog, and is learning and deploying some of the strategies that I talk about in the channel. And that's great. But I tell you what, I've always approached this channel that I was the teacher. I've got a lot of experience in the stock market. But I'm never, ever so exempt from taking a piece of knowledge and really stepping back and saying, whoa, 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 hold on a second. There might be something here. And just here recently, I was actually turned on to J.L. Collins. I've shared that material in my Facebook group. It's about a 45-minute watch. Please kick over to the Facebook group if you have not done so already and pick up on that content. I think there was some invaluable takeaways. And I had never heard of the guy, never heard of him, and I thought it was fantastic. And furthermore, I've also provided an article on there comparing some of the options that Vanguard offers through their index funds as opposed to offering their ETFs, all right? So this prompted me to get onto Vanguard's website, and I'm actually going to take you guys into Vanguard's website, and I'm going to walk you through my analysis and how you guys can actually see what I was seeing when I went into Vanguard. You guys can get in there on your own time, but I think just me showing you and navigating through the tabs on where I found this comparable analysis between the index funds, specifically their Admiral shares and their investor shares that they offer there, and also the ability, if offered, to identify their comparable ETF, all right? And it wasn't here until recently that I got on there and really had a revelation for myself. Again, we're always evolving. And you guys know that I talk about the prospects of housing as much investment capital in a self-directed account as possible, right? We want to eliminate and drive out all fees in our portfolio plan, right? I'm not an advocate of going with financial planners. As a matter of fact, I despise it. And I've made a whole catalog of video talking about how much I want to empower you guys to go into your own accounts and start to build that wealth for you and your families and you and your family alone, all right? I don't need to benefit from it. I'm delivering this information free of charge for you because it's credible and it's usable. And quite frankly, there needs to be more people like me helping the everyday average investor, right, with very little to no experience in the stock market on how to enter the stock market correctly, all right? And I hate to talk about other YouTube channels because I think in a lot of cases, a lot of the message is aimed at being sincere, right? Unfortunately, I think a lot of the information will take a new investor, pry on some of the excitement to get involved in the stock market, and they think that because they've tuned into a YouTube channel who's recommending the hottest 3 stocks of the month, that they can go out and invest in those stocks and realize financial security. I've got news for you guys. I've got news for you. That is not reality. It's not. All right? The best way to invest in the stock market is to take a passive approach and index your money or ETF your money, and that's it. Close the book on it and you're done. You can go on with your lives. But this particular breakdown that I want to talk about when I get into the Vanguard fund is going to talk about my analysis of switching my brokerage account, which a lot of you guys know I'm with Merrill Edge, right? And I've picked up index funds within the Merrill Edge account before. Unfortunately, they hit me with a $20 transaction fee, and there's a minimum to buy in most good indexes that are worth their salt, trust me. And when you look carefully at the expense ratio, which if there's anything out there that you need to look at when you are analyzing any type of mutual fund or index fund or ETF, you have to look at the expense ratio, all right? Now, it's very, very interesting to me. Somebody would look at an expense ratio of 0.04 and not really know how to put that into context. Is it inexpensive? Is it expensive? Comparatively speaking, they've got funds on there that will offer an expense ratio of 0.12. And when I was watching the video from J.L. Collins that I've shared with my group, the stock that he recommends is the VTSAX, I believe, or VFSAX from Vanguard, which is their total index, all right? It covers about 3,600 stocks. And he talks about the importance of having a piece of every one of those and the benefits of passive investing, right? Over time, right? Getting to benefit from the maximum benefit of all the winners in that space, and then having the losers kind of be rotated out of that particular index fund. It got me thinking. So I went into Vanguard, and I'll show you guys this when I get in there, about the fee or the expense ratio that particular fund charges. Now, to get into Vanguard's Admiral Shares, you have to have a minimum investment of $10,000. For a lot of people, that's too much. It would have been too much for me had I wanted to get started in the stock market and you said to invest in one of my funds, you have to pony up $10,000. It was too much, all right? Now, what do you get for that $10,000? What you get for that $10,000 is to be able to enjoy an expense ratio of 0.04, all right? So I thought, okay, I know how important it is to lower your expense ratio as much as possible. So did I go ahead and buy the VFSAX? No, I didn't, all right? And here's why. When I got onto, actually called Vanguard directly and I talked to him and I said, listen, I've looked at you guys for a long time. There's a lot of people who I know within my community who invest with Vanguard, and that's great. They're one of the best, all right? In my particular case, I trade for free because I have certain incentive levels within that account. Now with Vanguard, the incentive levels are extremely high. You've got to have $500,000 to $1 million and over $1 million to enjoy their Voyager program. And I thought, okay, that's cute. What's the freaking bottom line, which is what I want to know all the time. If I end up with Vanguard, right, I can buy their index fund for free. I can enter into the index fund for free. I have to have a $10,000 minimum, and I can enjoy the 0.04, and my life will be happy, and I can invest there for the rest of my life, right? Now, what's the catch? The catch is that Vanguard offers an ETF that absolutely mimics this total stock index. And they do this for a number of different funds on there. They will offer the index fund, they will offer the Admiral Shares, and they will offer the investor shares, okay? And they will offer a comparable ETF. When you get into the comparable ETF, you are going to find that it is a mirror image, a mirror image. What does that mean for you guys? Does it mean that you have to start an account with Vanguard only to see yourself having to pony up the $10,000 to take advantage of the Admiral Shares at the 0.04 expense ratio? I contend that if you are in a low-cost brokerage account like Robinhood, for example, or even better, a retirement account like mine that I can trade for free, I can buy VTI, which is the Vanguard's total index fund, which gives me the exact same exposure, guys. I found no difference in comparing these two products, all right? So I can enter into the VTI in my Merrill Edge account at 0 expense, no minimum to buy. You could start VTI with $50, all right? You could enter into this passive ETF in my particular Merrill Edge account as opposed to going with the Vanguard account. And that's exactly what I decided to do. Now, when you guys are wondering about the difference between 0.04 and 0.12, which would have been the difference between, had I not gone with the Admiral Shares with Vanguard, had I picked up the investor shares, right, in my Merrill Edge account, the expense ratio would have ran at 0.12. And you wonder, what is the difference over time? So I ran a scenario for you guys, and on a $5,500 initial investment and a max funding for 40 years, you're going to end up with an expense ratio of 0.04, which is what the VTI offers. You're going to end up with $1.213 million. Now, you compare that to a zero fee account. Let's say in a hypothetical world, you could buy the account and you had 0 expense ratio. Comparatively speaking to the 0.04 expense ratio, it's going to save you $7,000. $7,000 over the course of 40 years. Now we are talking the difference between 0 and 0.04, guys. This is a minuscule difference, but when you look at it over the long term, you can kind of see how the difference between 0 expense, right, is going to render $7,000. That's what this account is going to cost over 40 years, $7,000. Now, conversely, if you kept all the same conditions, $5,500 initial, $458 per month, which is a max contribution level for any Roth IRA, over the course of 40 years, the same conditions of investment cycle, right, in an account that has a 0.12, right, which is 3 times more than your 0.04, is going to cost you $32,000 over the course of that 40 years. So when you're talking about comparing 0.04 and 0.12, when you look at it that way, you cannot quantify the difference between those two figures. And a lot of people make this mistake. They think, oh my goodness, 0.12, hell, I'm used to paying 1.67 in my mutual fund, right? This is super low. Now this is a Vanguard product, mind you, right? It will cost you $32,000, which is over 4 times the amount of the 0.04 expense ratio. Now, if you that's on an anticipated rate of return of 7%, market return over that 40 years. So we run it just to see, for example's sake, what the difference between the fee structures are, right? Now, if you've bumped that up to just 1% more and you're looking at an 8% rate of return, the 0.04 account renders $18,000. That's how much it's going to cost you in expense ratio if you contribute. Now, you're going to have $1.586 million in the account over 40 years if you invest the minimum $5,500 and then max fund it for the rest of your life, or for 40 years. That's as far as I can go in the funding schedule on my compounding calculator that's also available on my Facebook page. But that is that'll cost you $18,000 in expenses over the course of that 40 years. Conversely, if you took it and compared it to the 0.12% account, that's going to cost you $34,000. So almost double when your year-over-year return bumps up 1 percentage point or 1 basis point. As we call it. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to kick you guys over to the Vanguard site, and I'm actually going to walk you kind of through where to identify on the Vanguard site. Very, very user-friendly. You can go on there and you can kind of identify where, if you were interested in a specific ETF, you could pull that ETF, identify what the expense ratio is. Comparatively speaking, it's going to compare it to the industry as a whole and where that expenses falls. But more importantly, it's going to give you the opportunity to see what they offer in an investor index fund and an an Admiral Shares index fund. So you can kind of compare what they're giving you in the Admiral Shares, the investor shares, which is going to kick up on the expense ratio, and also what they offer in an ETF. What does all this mean? What I found in my research is that going with the VOO, which is a fund that I have recommended throughout the life of the channel, could be the very best thing that you could ever do with your money. And a lot of people are looking at putting multiple index funds, multiple ETFs within their account. Not necessary, guys. All you really need to do is buy the VOO, which is what I did this week. Or you can look at the comparable product of VFSAX, which is VTI, which is the Vanguard's total stock fund, which covers 3,600 stocks. It diversifies you right away. It's a passive way of investing. It's a no-brainer way of investing. You invest what you can when you can, and you let them ride and provide you financial security every year that you own the fund going forward. So without further ado, I'm going to kick you guys into the Vanguard website. Please enjoy. I'm going to kind of walk you through a quick couple minutes of how I analyzed this data and how I kind of found it and how you guys can take it and analyze the data for yourself. So like I was talking about here, I wanted to bring you guys into the Vanguard's main website. Under the investing tab, if you just roll over investing and then kick down here to the Vanguard ETFs, it's going to bring up this list that I'm talking about. And you're going to want to click on Browse a list of all Vanguard ETFs. So you can kind of click on that and see how Vanguard's broken this down. It's actually very simple. They've got 56 funds on here. Some of them are bond ETFs. I don't get too much into that. There's some beautiful bond ETFs on here, B&D being one of my favorites. You get down, scroll past the investment grade, and then you get down to the stock ETFs. That is going to be our bread and butter. It will be our playground. But if you kind of look almost toward the bottom of this large cap stock ETF, you're going to find VOO, and you're going to find VTI right next to each other. All right, you can follow this along, and this is where I pull my expense ratios from. If you can kind of see here, both 0.04, so comparably within the Vanguard, very low. Some of these are higher, but the two that I recommend the most are the lowest expense ratio on Vanguard. And then you can kind of kick over here all the way to the right, and that actually shows the year-over-year performance since inception of the fund. So 7% on VTI, It's been around a lot longer than VOO. That's why the discrepancy or the disparity between these two year-over-year returns, but a very established fund in VTI. But what I was talking about on the video is if you kick over here and just click on VTI, some of the things that you can explore for yourself, and I highly encourage you, if there was any website to get familiar with, it would be the Vanguard website, because there's all kinds of great information. Now, the key here is when you're talking about the expense ratio of 0.04, you can kind of see the areas I'm scrolling here. And it says this is 96% lower than the average expense ratio of funds with similar holdings. And that is really why I don't deviate a whole lot from Vanguard funds. There's no reason to do it. You're getting comparable exposure to the stock market at an extreme discount for that particular investment vehicle. But what I was talking about on the video up here, where you've got Admiral Shares and you've got Investor Shares, okay? These are going to be the comparable index funds in Vanguard. So first, if I click on the Admiral Shares, it's going to bring you over and it's going to show you the ticker symbol VTSAX, which my friend J.L. Collins recommends on his Google discussion video that I've posted to my Facebook group. It's awesome video. But if you come over here, you can see that it has the exact same expense ratio as VTI, which is the comparable ETF. And furthermore, it's got the minimum account requirement of 10,000. Now, the only way that you can experience this Admiral Shares fund is if you have the 10,000 minimum and you hold an account with Vanguard. Then you can enter the account with no transaction fee. They offer you entrance into the fund as long as your first two criteria are held with Vanguard, in that you have the minimum investment capital of 10,000 and you own an account with Vanguard. So that's the VTSAX. The key takeaway here is to maneuver between the investor shares. So I'm just going to click on that real quick, and it's going to show you the exact same fund. If you wanted to invest in this fund, the ticker symbol VTSMX, if you wanted to invest in this particular index fund but didn't want to hold them with Vanguard, it's going to run you an expense ratio significantly more, 0.15, and you think, wow, that's not that big of a deal. And it is. What I was talking about on the YouTube video is the difference between the 0.04 being almost 4 times as much here, guys. So it does carry with it a lesser of a minimum investment. So if I wanted to invest in this in my brokerage account, I could do that. I would just be required to have the minimum investment capital of $3,000. I would get hit with a transaction fee of $20 per transaction to enter into the account, because it's not held with Vanguard, and I would be subject to this 0.15 expense ratio over the life of the fund. So my decision here when I was comparing these two between the Admiral Shares and the Investor Shares was to actually kick over to this ETF and say, good grief, I can get the exact same exposure in a large blend stock portfolio, get the low expense ratio, and enter into this ETF in my brokerage account, my no-fee brokerage account, and get the same level exposure. Guys, I'm going to kick you back over to YouTube. I just thought that this would be really, really important to kind of take you into Vanguard and really kind of show you how to maneuver between the ETF and the index fund so you can make those comparisons on your own. Thanks a lot, guys.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much. I do not provide this information for any other reason other than to help individual investors empower their own lives to make these decisions, guys. This is easy stuff if you just take a little bit of time and kind of understand. I'm showing you the resources. I'm showing you the websites. I'm showing you the resources. All of it, I data dump on my Facebook page. If you haven't asked to join the Facebook page, there are portfolio building going on as we speak within that group. I'm actually very accessible through the group now. The channel is very small, the YouTube channel, and I'm actually really accessible. As the channel grows, I will become less available to provide really one-on-one assistance. But for those guys that I have helped one-on-one, I'm quite certain that you guys can validate that that help was a game changer. It was a life changer. I'm glad to do it. And as our channel is kind of new, take advantage, hit me up in email, hit me up through the group, ask me your specific questions. I understand that all individuals out there kind of have their own specific needs, but really I will tend to funnel you guys into one specific perspective. Either we're looking at going 100% passive, we're looking at going 100% stock portfolio, which is also a good option for you, but much more difficult to succeed at consistently over time. Or you could do what I do, and that's kind of a passive blend or a stock blend portfolio. Guys, again, if this is your first time tuning into the Independent Investor channel, subscribe to the channel to support. If this is something that you had no idea about and you've got ideas about this particular topic, leave your ideas in the comments, man. Hit me up. I respond to every comment in detail. If you know somebody out there who's looking to get involved in the stock market, certainly tune them on to this information. Share the information. Really, a lot of the resources that can be provided to a new investor really come right off of the Vanguard page, and you really don't need to look any further than providing yourself the opportunity to invest in some of those avenues, some of those investment products that they have in the bucket that I talk about all the time, and that is the self-directed Roth IRA account. You do not get any better of an investment bucket than the self-directed Roth IRA account. Guys, thank you so much again for tuning in, and good luck in your investment future.